Hello everyone, welcome back to Daily Tuition. In this tutorial, we are creating this complete Bootstrap responsive website step by step. In this website, we are using Bootstrap. We are using Bootstrap to glorify the website and make it responsive. We will also add some custom style to it to make it more attractive. So before you take this tutorial, you need to have a basic understanding of HTML and CSS before you moving on. So what we are building in this tutorial? In this tutorial, we're going to create this beautiful navigation menu, this website title, and these different sections where we have this feature section, the pricing section, team member sections, and so on. We are using Font Awesome website to use free icons and used images from pixel.com. So basically, we are doing many things in only a single video. So first, we will create this website for desktop and then make it responsive for mobile version. You can see this website is completely responsive for mobile and tablet as well. I hope you're excited like me to build this website. So before we getting late, let's get started. Now to build this complete website, I'm using VSCode Editor. You are free to choose your favorite editor. If you did not using this editor, then this is the best time to install it. To install this code editor, open the browser and type code.visualstudio.com. and press enter. From this website, you can download VS Code Editor. Just download this application as per your system. VS Code is most used and favorite editor. It has a syntax highlighting and autocomplete with IntelliSense, which provide a smart completion based on the variable types, function definitions, and imported modules. Using VS Code Editor, you can even install extensions to add new languages, themes, debuggers, and connect additional services. This editor is very fast and lightweight. Extensions run in separate process, ensuring they won't slow down your application. You can also change your theme whatever you want. So basically, this is amazing editor so far. Once you install this editor, open it. You can see the workspace of Visual Studio Code Editor. Just click on this icon to install the extension and search for Live Server. So in this search box, I will say Live Server. Now you just need to install this Live Server extension. This extension launch a development server with the live reload feature for static and dynamic pages. Once you install this extension, whenever you make any changes to the file and save it, Live Server quickly update your HTML file in the browser. So you don't need to manually update the browser when you make any changes in the file. Then just after that, search for Beautify. Then install this Beautify extension to format your code when you save a file. This will save you a lot of time and maintain your code readability. Once you install this extension, click on this Manage icon and go to Settings. And in this search box, type Format. And just click on this Formatting option. Now here you can find this option, Format on Save. Just click on this Format on Save checkbox to format the file when you save it. Once you've done that, just close these settings and back to Explorer tab. To create a project, we'll create an empty folder and open it in this Explorer tab. So we're gonna create an empty folder on desktop. You are free to choose your own location. So I will right click here and say New Folder and name this folder Books. And now I want to open this folder in VS Code Editor. So I will open the VS Code Editor and click on this Open Folder. You can also open this folder by clicking on this File menu and select this Open Folder, right? But I'll choose this option and say Open Folder and select my book folder and say Select Folder. So now you can see the empty book folder is open in this Explorer tab. I will close this welcome window. Now just follow along with me to create this complete website. So I will create here a new folder and name this folder Source. And in this folder, I'm gonna have index.html file. So to create this file, just click on this icon, New File, and name your file index.html. Now, just after that, I will create another folder here. So I will just click on this icon and create a new folder and name it CSS. And in this folder, I will add a style sheet for this website. So I'm gonna click on this new file icon and create style.css file. Throughout this website, you're gonna see the high quality images, so we need to import that images in this application. So we'll create another folder here and name this folder asset. And just after that, I wanted to import that images in this folder. So I will copy these images. You can download these images from pixel.com or from unflash.com. I had downloaded these images from pixel.com. So I will just copy these images and paste it in the books asset folder right here. Right? Now you can see when you expand this folder, we have few images, right? Now I will first complete the HTML file and then move on to style.css file. So it will help us to understand what we are doing, right? So I will just back to index.html file, and here to create a simple HTML5 boilerplate, I will use exclamation mark here and press tab. So the image of VS Code Editor gives us a simple HTML5 snippet with the doc type HTML, the HTML tag, the heading section, and the meta section where we have the character set UTF-8, and the viewport is equal to the width of your device. Now I'm going to rename this title and say here books. Before we get started, I will open the finished website in the browser. And now in the body, here I will create 3 sections. The first section is going to be header. Now in this section, I will add this navigation menu with navigation items and this title with the button and this image. Just after this header, I'm gonna have here a main section, and in this main section I will add these few sections, right? And just after that, I'm gonna add here, just after this main section, I will add here footer. In the footer section, I will add this footer, right? Now let's start with the header. But before we get started, we need to link the Bootstrap CSS file to this HTML. So just open the browser and in the address bar, just type Bootstrap. And from this Get Bootstrap website, I will link this Bootstrap framework to my application. So I will click on this Get Started button and use this CDN to use Bootstrap classes. You can download the Bootstrap framework and link bootstrap.css file to your application, but I will choose the simple way. So I will use this CDN, so I will copy this CDN and paste this in the head section of my application. So in the head section right here, paste this link. Now just after that, I want to link this style.css file as well. So I will create here a link tag, and in the href attribute, I will say double dot and the forward slash. So this expression refers to the root path, right? So I will select here a CSS folder and link my style.css file. Save the document, and now just after that, here just before this closing body section, I want to link Bootstrap jQuery files to perform events. So I'm going to copy these 3 links and paste it before this closing body tag right here. Now just after that, I wanted to change this jQuery slim file. Because I'm using animation in this website, I want to link the complete jQuery library. So I'm going to open the browser and search here jQuery CDN. And from any of these websites, you can copy the CDN. So I will just click on this website. And from here, I want to find jQuery.mean.js file, this one. Just click on this icon and say copy script tag. And then just replace this script with this script tag, right? We need to replace this jQuery because we are using animate function. In the slim file of jQuery, we can't use the animate function. So to use the animate function, we replace this slim file to this jQuery main.js, right? Save the changes, and just after that, back to your header section right here. Now let's get started and create a menu for this website. Now let's create a simple division tag here. To create a simple division tag, you don't need to add a bracket and specify a div and close it. Instead, just say div and press tab. So the image will give you an opening and the closing division tag, right? Now, to specify a class to this division tag, just type dot and specify class name. So I will say element here and press tab. So this will create a division tag with the class name element, right? Now, just after that, if you want to create an ID, then you just need to type opening hash and specify an ID. So I will say my ID and press tab, right? So this will create a division tag with the ID my ID, right? Now if you want to create a different HTML tag with the class, then you need to specify that tag name before the class name, like this. Let's say if I want to create h1 heading tag, then I will say here h1, and to specify a class I will say here dot and then specify my class name, so I will say element here and press tab. So this will create h1 heading tag with the class name element, right? And if you want to create an ID, just get rid of this dot and just specify here opening hash and specify your ID, so I will say my ID, right? You can see me doing this throughout this website. Now let's create a simple division tag, so I will just specify a dot here and specify class name container fluid, right? Now this Bootstrap class will specify 100% width for this division tag, right? And I also want to remove padding from this division tag, so I will say here p-0. So this will remove padding from this division tag, right? Now in this division tag I will create this navigation menu, right? So I will open the Bootstrap website, and here in this component section you can find the navbar right here. Just click on it, and from here you can choose your own navigation menu, right? Here you can find different type of navigation menus, so just choose your own navigation menu. So I'm going to choose here this navigation menu, right? So I'm going to copy this code, so I will click on this copy button and paste this code here in this division tag, right? Save the changes, and if you open this file in the live server, so I will just right click here and say open with live server. Then you can see here we have a navigation menu with home, features, pricing and disable navigation item, right? Now I want to customize this navigation menu, so I'm going to just remove this class navbar light and bg light class, and just after that I want to change this navbar brand text to books, right? And then I want to change this navigation item. So my first navigation item is home, second is course, third is price, fourth is pages which has a nested navigation links, then we have a fact and the about section. So we're gonna replace these features with course, this pricing become price, and then I want to replace this disable button with the enable button. So I'm gonna get rid of this disable button and just copy this and paste it here, and then I will say here pages, and just after that and just name this navigation item fact, and the last is going to be about. Save the changes. Now when you open this file in the browser, then you can see here you have your website logo and this is your navigation items. Now I want to align these navigation items on the right side like this, right? And also I want to specify these nested navigation items to these pages. So I will open the HTML file, and right here just after this div and just before this UL tag I will put a division tag and create a class and name it margin right auto, and leave this division tag as it is. Save the document, and if you open this file you can see your navigation menu is aligned to the right side. Now I want to add some nested navigation items to these pages, so I will just get rid of this pages section. I'm gonna add a custom CSS class, so I'm gonna say here drop down, right, which will create in the style.css file, right? Now in this li tag I'm gonna create a div and specify drop down class, and in this division tag I'm gonna create anchor tag with the class now link, and for the href attribute I will specify a hash here, right? And in the text I will say pages. Just after that I want to specify nested navigation items, so I'm going to create here a div and specify a class drop down content, right? And in this division tag I'm going to create two nested items. You can create multiple navigation items, but I'm just creating only two, so I will add an anchor tag here and specify a text generic and create another nested items, so I will add anchor tag here and just specify text element. Right, save the changes, and you can see here you have a nested nav items. When we specify style to this HTML, this will look like this, right? So when you hover on these pages, you can see your nested navigation items. Now that is all for this navigation menu. Now let's create this author, this exciting adventure text, and the paragraph with this button. And along with that, I'm going to add here a PNG image. So I'm going to open the HTML file, and right after this division tag, here just before this header, I will add here a division tag with the class container. Right? So what is this with the class container? Now the containers are the most basic layout element in the Bootstrap. I'm using this container because I want to create a grid system. The container class is a fixed width container, meaning its max width changes at each breakpoint, and this container has a width 100% wide all the time. Right? Now here I will add another Bootstrap class which is text center. So this class will center all the text. Now in this div, I'm going to create a row. So I'm going to add just here row. This class will simply create a row. Now here I'm going to add a Bootstrap grid system. So Bootstrap has a 12 column grid system, and each column has equal width. So here I will create a div with the class called MD7. So this class will not create 7 columns on the HTML page. Instead, this class will utilize the space of 7 columns and create a single column with the space of 7 columns. Right? So this class will take the 7 column space for this division tag. Now here you can see we specify MD here. So for the medium size of devices, I want 7 column space for this division tag. And for the small size of devices, so I will say here call SM12. For the small size of devices, I will specify 12 column width for this division tag. Right? Just after that, I'm going to create another division tag and specify a class called MD5. So you can see here we have a 7 and the 5 here. Now let me explain why we choose 7 and 5 column to this div. As I said earlier, Bootstrap has 12 column grid system. So we specify 7 column space to this div and 5 column space to this div. So if you calculate, if you add 7 and 5, then the equal of these two numbers is 12. In this row, we have 12 column grid system. So you can see these two division tag in the single row. If you specify 8 here instead of 7, then this division tag will fall down to the next line. I don't want it to fall down this division tag on the next line. So I'm going to just specify 7 here. So the width of these two division tag is equal to 12 columns. Right? You can specify any width to your div between 1 to 12 column. Now just after that, here I'm going to create call SM12. Now I want to specify 12 column space to this division tag on small type of devices, right? So I specify here call SM12. And in this division tag, I'm going to create H6 heading tag and specify a text. So I'm going to specify a text in capital letters. So I'm going to on the caps lock and say here author and just specify a daily tuition name. Right? And just after that, here I'm going to create H1 heading tag, and here I will say exciting adventure. Right? Now just after that, I will create a paragraph and add some demo text. So I will say Lauren 20. So this will bring up 20 demo text word here. Save the document. If you open this HTML file, you can see here we have this author, the title, and the paragraph. Now I want to create a button here. So I'm going to just create just after this paragraph. I'm going to create here a button, and I want to specify a class. So I will specify a class. So I will add a Bootstrap class btn, and I will specify a light color to this btn. So I will say btn light, and just specify text buy now for $5.99. Right? Save the changes, and if you open here, you can see you have a button here. Now I want to add some padding to this button, so I will add here padding X. So this will add left and right padding, so I will add padding X5 and padding Y. So the padding Y will add top and bottom padding, so I will say padding Y 2. Save the changes, and you can see we have a button here. Now I want to add image in this division tag, right? So I will expand this div, and right here I'm going to add an image, and here I will specify double dot and the forward slash. So this will refers to the root directory, and then I will select my asset folder and then select my PNG image, and for the alt attribute I will say books. Save the changes, and you can see here you have a book here, right? Now I will add some height to this image, so I will say H25. So this will add 25% height to this div, right? Now let's move on to the next section, where we add this beautiful image and this panel with the heading and the paragraph, right? So I will create here in the main section, in the main tag, I'm going to create a section tag, and just specify a class. So I will say section 1. In the first section right here, I will create a division tag and specify a container class. Along with that, I want to center all the text, so I will say text center. Now in this div, I will add a row to create a grid column, right? Just after that, I want to create here 2 columns. The first column will take 6 column width, and the second will take 6 column width. So I will say here col MD 6, and I will do the same here and say col MD 6. So here we have 2 columns with the space of 6 columns. Now just after that, in this column I'm going to create here a division tag with the class pray, and in this div I will add an image. So I will add an image tag here, and in the source attribute I will say double dot forward slash asset, and then I will select my image here. So I will select this image here, right? And just after that, for the alt attribute I will say pray. You are free to leave this attribute as it is, but I will say here pray. And just after that, in the second column right here, I'm gonna add a division tag and just specify a class panel. So this is a custom class, and along with that I will say text left. Using this class I will align all the text to the left side, right? Now in this division tag I will add h1 heading tag and say here Mr. David Smith, right? You can specify your own name as well, but I will just take here a dummy name. Now just after that I will create a paragraph and specify padding top 4, right? And in this paragraph I'm gonna add a text. So I will just copy this text and paste it in this paragraph, and just after that I will create another paragraph right here just after this paragraph, and in this paragraph I will copy and paste this text, right? Save the changes, and if you open this file, if you open this HTML file in the browser, you can see here this is very horrible without a CSS, isn't it? We'll style this when we complete the HTML file, right? Now the first section is completed. Just after this first section I'm gonna create here my second section. So I will just name this section and specify a class. So I will say section 2. Now I just want to specify here container fluid class. So I will say container fluid, and I want to remove padding, so I will say padding 0. Now in this section I will create a division tag with the class cover. Now this division tag represents this background section, right? And in this div I'm going to add this h1 heading tag and the paragraph. I will put this in the division tag, so I'm going to add here a division tag and specify a class content. Along with that I will say text center. Now in this div I will add h1 heading tag and say some features that made us unique, right? And here I will add a paragraph, and in this paragraph I will add some demo text. So I will say lorem 10. So this will give us a 10 demo words, right? Save the changes, and just after that, just after this cover div right here, I'm gonna add a container fluid class, and along with that I will say text center. Now in this container fluid class, I want to create these 4 divs. So I want to create here 4 rectangles. So I will create a flex box to create these 4 rectangles in the single row, right? So I'm going to create here a division tag. I will first specify a custom class here, so I will say numbers. Now just after that, I will define this div as a flex container. So I'm going to add here dflex. I want all these rectangles in the single row, so I'm going to say flex md row, right? Now I will add another class which is flex wrap, and just after that I will say flex wrap. So I want to wrap these items, so I'll just specify here flex box, and just after that I want to center all the content, so I will say here justify content center. And in this div I'm going to create 4 rectangles. So I'm going to create here a div with rectangle class. So this is a custom class, so I will style this later. I will copy this div, paste it here, and paste it here one more time, because I want 4 rectangles. In the first rectangle right here, I will add a number. So I'm going to add here h1 heading tag and specify a number. So I will say 2345. And just after that, I will add a paragraph and say here happy client. Save the changes, and you can see here we have here 235 and the happy client text. Then I will just specify here in the second rectangle, I will create h1 heading tag and specify some demo number. So I'm going to say here 6784, and in the paragraph I'm going to add here cups coffee, and in the third rectangle I will say h1 heading tag and specify a number 1056, and the paragraph text is going to be tickets submitted, right? And at the last, in the fourth rectangle, I will say h1 heading tag and specify a number. So the number is going to be 9152. You're free to specify your own number. Then we're gonna add a paragraph here and specify text total projects. Save the changes, and you can see here we have 4 rectangles in a row, right? We will style this later in the style.css file, right? Now let's move on to the next section where we add the purchase heading with the paragraph and 3 cards, right? So I'm going to create here just after this closing div right here. So I'm not going to create a new section for that. So I will create here a div and specify a custom class. So I will say purchase and also add text center class to center all the text, right? Now in this div I'm going to add here h1 heading tag and specify a text. So I will say purchase whatever you want, right? And just after that I'm going to add a paragraph and add some demo text. So I'm going to open this and copy this text and paste it here. Now just after that I'm going to create here a division tag and specify a class cards. If you open the Bootstrap website and click on this card, then you can see here you have different type of cards here. Now I want to use this card here, right? So I will just use this code. I'm not going to copy this code, I will write it manually and specify these classes. So I will just create a card here, and just after that I'm going to add here a division tag with the flex box. So I will say dflex and just say flex row, and in this div I'm going to add this card, right? This card class. So I will say here div card. So don't confuse with this card and these cards. So this cards is a custom class and this is a Bootstrap class. Now for this div, I want to align all these cards center. So I will say here justify content center, and along with that I want to wrap these cards, so I will say flex wrap. Now in this class I will create a division tag and specify a class called body, and in the body of this class I will create a title div, and in this div I'm gonna add h5 heading tag with the class called title, right? And just specify here PDF text. And just after this div, here I will add a paragraph, and I want to specify class to this paragraph, so I will say card text. Now just after that I will add some demo text here, so I will copy this text from this website, so I will copy this text and paste it here. And now just after this paragraph I'm going to create this pricing section, so I will add here a division tag and specify a class pricing, and just here I will add h1 heading tag and specify my price, so I will just add a $sign and say 77.99. and just after that here I'm gonna add this button. So here you can see a button. This is not actually a button, this is an anchor tag, just look like a button. So I will add here an anchor tag and specify here a text, so I will say purchase now. Now I want to specify Bootstrap classes to this anchor tag, so it looks like a button, so I will say class and say here btn dark. Save the changes, and if you open this file you can see you have here a button, right? I want to add some padding to this button, so I'm going to add here padding x5, so this will add left and right padding, and I will say padding y. This will add the vertical padding, and I will say here 2. Now I also want to specify margin bottom to this button, so I will say margin bottom 5, right? Save the changes, and you can see here this button, right? Now I want to add 2 more cards in the row, so just copy this card. So I will just click on this div, and you can see here the closing div, so I will copy this card and paste it just after this closing div, and I will do the same for the third card also, so I will paste this again. Save the changes, and right here you can see we have 3 cards. Now I want to change this text and this price, right? So I'm going to change this text, so I will say here ebook, and the price is going to be 99.99. and for the third card right here I'm gonna add print copy text, and I will specify a price $58.99. Save the changes, and you can see here we have 3 cards, right? Now if you look at this code, this might be confusing for you. For that reason I will add some comment here to understand this code clearly. So I'm going to add here a comment and specify here first card, right? Then copy this comment, paste it here, and just say second card, and then just put this comment here and say third card, right? Now I want to create the next section, this one, where we have the heading, the paragraph, and 2 panels. So let's create this section. So just after this section, this second section, I will add a third section here. So I'm going to say here section, and I want to create a class, so I will say section 3. And for this section I will specify container fluid class with padding 0, and I want to center all the text, so I will say text center. Now in this section I will create a row, so I will say row here. Now in this row I want to specify 12 column width for this heading tag and this paragraph. So I'm gonna add here in this div, I would say div and create a column called md12. Along with that, I will say call SM12. I will add 12 column space for small size of devices, right? And in this div, I'm going to add h1 heading tag and say download our app for all platforms. And just after that, I'm going to add a paragraph here and copy and paste some text. So I will copy this text and paste it here. And now I want to create here a div with the class platform. So I will say platform, and along with that I will add Bootstrap class row, right? Just after that, here in this div, now in this row I'm going to add 2 columns. So I'm going to add a div here with the class call md6, right? I will create another column, and just after that, for the first column I will say call sm12, and I want to align this text to the right side, so I will say right. And for the second column right here, I will say call sm12 and specify text to the left side, right? Now in the first column right here, I will create a division tag and specify a class which is a custom class, so I will say desktop, and along with that I want to specify some shadow to this div, so I will say shadow lg. So this is a Bootstrap class to specify shadow to the HTML element, right? Now this will add some shadow to this first element, right? Now to create this type of design, I will use flexbox. So I will add here dflex, and along with that I will say flex row, and I will justify all the content center. Now here in this flexbox, I want to add this icon. So to add this icon, I'm using Font Awesome website. So I will just open a new tab and search for Font Awesome. And from this fontawesome.com website, and from this website you can find different type of icons. I'm going to just click on the start using free. So I'm going to just copy this CDN and just paste it in this header tag, right? Just before this CSS style. So I will paste this link here. Save the changes, and now you can use any free icon from this website. So I will click on these icons and search for desktop. So here you can see the icon desktop. I will just click on it, and now here you can download this icon or just use this code. So I'll just grab this code, so I'll click on it and just paste this code right here in this first column. Save the changes, and if you open the website, you can see you have this icon here, but the size of this icon is too small, so I want to increase the size of this icon. So we have a class called fa3x. So this class will increase the size of the icon, so you can see here, right? And along with that, I want to add some padding to this icon, so I will say padding y 2 and padding right 3, right? Just after that, I will create here a division tag and specify text class, and I want to align all the text left, so I will say text left here. And just after that, I will add h3 heading tag, and I want to specify a class to this h3 heading tag, so I will say class padding top 1, and I want to add margin 0. And here in this h3 heading tag, I will say desktop, and just after that I will add a paragraph and specify a class padding 0, and I want to add margin 0, 0, and I want to specify text here, so I will say on website. Save the changes, right? So you can see this layout here. Just after that, I want to add this column where we have the icon of mobile and on mobile text. So I will select this div. By clicking on this div, you can find the closing div, right? Just copy it and paste it in the second column right here. And here I want to change this icon, so I'm going to change this icon class. So I will say here mobile, and just after that I will change this text to on mobile, and this going to be on Play Store. Save the changes, and you can see here you have this on mobile text with this icon. So you can see here we have this mobile icon, but I want to change this icon. I think I specified a different icon here. I want to change that, so I will say here mobile alt. So here you can see the mobile icon and the text. Now this section is completed. Let's move on to the next section where we create this team member section and the carousel. I will first close these unwanted tabs. Now the next section comes in where we add this heading and the paragraph, and you can see here we have 3 cards, but actually we have 4 cards here. We use 2 cards inside this carousel, so we're gonna learn how to create this team member section with this carousel. So let's see how to do that. So to create a team member, I'm gonna create a new section here. So I will just say here section and specify a class section 4. In this section I'm going to first create a container, so I will say container, and along with that I will say text center to center all the text. Then just after that I will add the h1 heading tag, and I'm going to add text dark class, right? So this will change the color of the text, and here I want to specify a text, so I will say what our readers says about us, right? And just after that I'm going to add a simple paragraph with the text, so I'm going to say here lorem 5, and I also wanted to specify a class here, so I'm going to say class text secondary, right? So this will change the text color of this paragraph. Save the changes, and if you open this, you can see here you have this title and this paragraph, right? Now just after that, just after this div, I'm going to create here another div, so I will specify a custom class here, so I will say team, and along with that I will specify a row here, right? And in this row I want to add 3 columns, right? So I will say here call md 4, right? And I will copy this div and just paste it here and paste it here. So this class will specify 4 column space to this div, to this div, and to this div, right? And just after that I want to specify column 12 for extra small devices. And just after that in this div I'm going to first center all the text, so I will say text center, and then in this div I'm going to create a card, right? So to create a card I will call the card class, and just after that in this card I'm going to create another div with card img top, right? And in this card image top class I'm going to add an image, so I will add here image tag, and in the source attribute I will just specify my asset folder, and here I will select my first member face, right? So I will select this one, and here in the alt attribute I will just say member, right? And I also want to specify a class here to this image, so I'm going to say here img fluid, right? Just after this card image top div right here I'm going to create here a division tag and specify a class card body, and in the body of this card I'm going to add h3 heading tag and specify a class card title, and then I will add the first member name, so I will say here you are free to specify any name here. Just after this h3 heading tag I'm going to create a paragraph with the class card text, right? You can see here I'm just following the structure of the Bootstrap card, right? And in this paragraph I want to add some demo text, so I will first back to my website and just copy this text. I'm using the same text for all these cards. You are free to specify different text, right? Then here I'm gonna paste this text, save the changes, and right, and at the last just after this paragraph I will add an anchor tag, and here I'm going to specify a text here So I will say go somewhere, right? I also want to specify a class here, so I will say class. So I will say text secondary, and along with that I will say text decoration none. So this class will remove the default border from this anchor tag, right? Save the changes. If you open this file, you can see here you have a card, right? When we add CSS, this card look like this, right? Now I wanted to add here one more text, so I'm going to add just after this anchor tag, I'm going to add a paragraph, and in this paragraph I will specify a position of the member in the company. So I'm going to say here CEO at Google, right? And I will say here class. I want to specify light gray color to this text, so I will say text black 50. So this is a Bootstrap class to specify light gray color to this text. Save the changes, and here you can see we have this text here, right? Now just after that I want to specify margin to this card, so I'm going to add here margin. So I will say margin right 2. I want to specify inline block property of CSS to this card, so I'm going to say here D inline block, right? And then I want to add shadow, so I will say shadow LG, right? Save the changes, and you can see you have this card with shadow. In the second column right here, I want to add a carousel. To add a carousel, I will back to Bootstrap website, and here you can find the carousel right here just after this card. Just click on it and you can find here different kind of carousels. So I'm going to just use this simple slide only carousel, right? So I'm going to just copy this text and use it in this second column right here. But before I paste it, I want to specify here a comment, and in this comment I will say carousel started, right? And now I will paste it here. Now in this carousel you can see we have 3 items. I want only 2, so I will remove this carousel item, right? Now in the first carousel item I want to display my card, right? So I will get rid of this image and create a comment here and just say here card 2, right? So I'm going to just copy this card from here. So I will just copy this card from this card class, right, from here to this closing date. Copy this and paste it here in the first carousel item, right? Now you just need to change this image and the text, right? So I'm going to just change this image to this, and then I'm going to change this text. So I'm going to specify here Alan, right? And just after that save the changes, and here you can see you have a carousel right here. Now I want to add one more carousel item here, but before I specify any carousel item I need to specify this text to the center of this card. So I'm gonna add here text center class. Save the changes, and you can see here we have a center text, right? Now just after that, for this second carousel item I will say text center and get rid of this image, and I will copy this card right here and paste it here in the second carousel item. But before I paste it I will specify a comment here and say card 3. Paste it here and just change this image, and I'm gonna say here, and I will select this UIFS 2 image here, and the text is going to be this, right? Save the changes, and you can see here we have a sliding carousel, right? And just after that, in the third column I will first specify called fail class to this column. I also wanted to specify this class to this second column also, So I will say here call 12, right? Now in the third column right here, I'm going to copy and paste the card again. So I'm going to paste the card again. So I will create a comment here and say card 4 and paste the card here. So I will copy the first card right from here and just paste it in the third column right here. And just after that, just change this image. So I'm going to specify here UI phase 4, and this text is something like this: Olivia Lewis, right? Save the changes and you can see you have your third card, right? Now I want to center this text, so I'm going to specify here text center. This will center this text, right? Now the team member section is completed. When we style this section look like this, right? Now just after that, the last section we wanted to create is a footer section. In this footer, we're going to add this about section where we have this paragraph. Then we have this newsletter section, this text box, and this follows section. So let's get started and create this beautiful footer. Now to create this beautiful footer, I will just create here a container fluid class, and along with that I will say padding 0. Just after that, oops, I want to specify 0 here, and in this div I'm going to add a row. So I will say here row, and I want to specify all the text to the left side, so I'm going to say text left, right? And in this div I will create 3 columns. So I'm going to say call MD 5. So I will specify 5 column space for this div. Then I will create the same div here. So I'm going to copy and paste this div here, and just after that I will create a column MD2, right? So you can see here we have 2 division tag with 5 column space and 1 division tag has 2 column space. So you can see here we are following the structure of Bootstrap, because if you calculate and add these columns, you can see you have 12 column space, right? And here I'm going to say call MD 5 for a small size of devices. And also just after that I will first create this about section and this paragraph, right? So just create this about section. To create this about section, just create here h4 heading tag, and I'm going to specify here a class and just say here text light, right? And just say here about us. Now just after that I will create a paragraph and specify a text color. So I will say text muted. So this will add light gray color to this paragraph, and here I'm going to add some text. So to specify text, I will just copy this text and paste it in this paragraph right here. Just after that I'm going to create another paragraph and I will specify class padding top 4, and just after that specify text muted, right? And in this paragraph I will use this text, right? So I will copy this text and paste it here. Now I want to change the color of this deletion name, so I'm going to wrap this deletion name in the span tag. So I'm going to create here span tag and wrap this name in this span tag. So I'm going to say here deletion, right? Save the changes, and when we create a style sheet I will specify this color to this deletion text, right? Now just after that, in this second column right here, I'm going to create here this section where we have this newsletter, this paragraph text, and this beautiful text box with this gradient button. So I'm going to just add h4 heading tag and specify class text light, and just say here news letter. And just after that I will add a paragraph and specify text muted class, and I will say here stay updated, right? Then I will just add this text box. So I will say here form. I will get rid of this action attribute and just specify a class. So I'm going to say here form inline, and in this form I will add a division tag with the class call and padding left 0. And just after that, in this division tag I will create here a division tag and specify a class input group and just specify padding right 5. Now in this div, in this input group, I will add text box and an icon. So I'm going to say here input, type text, and then specify a class which is form control. Along with that, I will specify a background color to this class. So I will say biju dark. This will add black background color to this text box, and then I will specify a white text color to this input text box. So I will say text white. Now just after that, I will specify a placeholder here and then specify here a placeholder name email. Now in this div, I'm going to create here another division tag and specify a class input group prepend, right? So this division tag is for this button, right? Now let's create this button. So I'm going to add here another div with the class input group text, and in this class I'm going to simply add here this icon, right? To add this icon I will use I tag and I will specify a class. So I will say fast fa arrow right. Save the changes, and you can see here, if you open this file, you can see we have this arrow here. In the style.css file, we'll specify gradient color to this button, right? Now just after that, in this last column right here, to this column D2, in this column I will add this follows text, this simple paragraph, and these icons. So I'm going to just add here h4 heading tag and specify text light class and say here follow us. Just after that, add a paragraph and specify text muted class and just say here let us be social. You can specify any text if you want. Right here I'm going to create here a division tag with the column class, and just after that I'm going to add text light class, and in this div I'm going to add these icons. So I'm going to first add I tag and specify class fab fa Facebook, right? So this will add a Facebook icon. If you open this file, you can see we have here Facebook icon. Oops, where is my Facebook icon? Just get rid of this text light class because we will specify color for these icons when we create a style sheet, right? So I will just get rid of this class. And save the changes. And here you can see you have this Facebook icon. Now just add a few more icons here. So I'll just copy this tag, paste it here, and here I want Instagram. So I will say Instagram. And just after that, here I want Twitter. So I will say Twitter here. At the last, I want my YouTube icon. So I will say YouTube here. Save the changes, and you can see here you have your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube icon, right? When we specify style to this icon, these icons look like this. At the last, I will specify here to this column, I will say call sm12, right? Save the changes, and you can see here the HTML file is completed. If you look at this HTML file, then it's horrible, right? Because we didn't specify any style sheet to this HTML document. We specify style sheet to glorify this HTML file. So let's get started and create a style sheet code for this HTML file. So now the time is to style this HTML file using style.css file, right? So I'm going to open my style.css file, which is in my CSS folder, which we had already created, and a link to the HTML file already. Alright, so I will open this file. So the first thing we will do is I will just add some font family from the Google font which we are using in this website. So I'm going to add here a comment and say Google font. Open the new tab and search here Google font. Right here, just click on this Google font website and just select your favorite fonts. So I'm going to just quickly select my favorite fonts. Once you've done that, just open your font which you have selected and just click on this import and just copy this import statement and paste it in the style.css file. There is another way to import this font family in your website using this standard way. Just copy this link and paste it in the style.css file in the head section. Both are equal, right? So I will open my style.css file and here I have my font families which we are using in this website. Just after that, I will just toggle this window right here. Right? So now just open your website and start with the global selector. So I'm going to first select all the HTML tags and specify box sizing border box, right? So the border box property allows you to include padding and border in an element's total width and height. Right? Just after that, I'm going to select header and section and just specify overflow X property hidden. So this property will hide all the left and right extra space from this header and the section, right? Just after that, here I will just say root, and in this root I'm going to create a few variables. In this variable we'll specify font family and the color. So to simply create a variable, I will just specify double dash and specify my variable name, right? And just specify value to this variable. So whenever you want to access this value, you just need to call this variable name, right? So I'm going to just specify here my font family. So I'm going to just specify here my font name and the fallback value, right? Now I will just quickly create here a few variables. So here you can see we just created few variables. In this variable we just specified the font family, and in this variable we just specified a color which we are using throughout this website. So you can see me to use this variable in this file. So to use this variable, just specify your class whatever you want. So I'm going to just say here, let's say I will just select here header, and I want to specify here a lobster font family to this variable. Then I will just say here font family. And to specify font family, I'm not going to specify the font family name. Instead, I will just call this variable. So I'm going to just specify here double dash and specify my variable name, right? This font family is applied to this property, right? You can see me doing this throughout this course. Just after that, I will just save the changes, and now I will just select the header and the anchor tag, and I want to specify font family to all the anchor tags. So I will say font family. And I want to specify font family, so I will specify this font family to this anchor tag and select my font family, right? And just after that I will specify font size 0.9 em, right? And then I will specify a color white smoke. Just after that, now I want to specify this background gradient color to this header background. So I'm going to just say here header and just specify background. So I will first specify the fallback value for the old browser. So I'm going to just specify here a color, and then I will specify background and just call the gradient color. We already created a variable here, you can see. We will just call this variable to specify a gradient background color here. I will just call dash dash bg gradient, right? When we save this, you can see this gradient color here. Now just after that, I'm going to just select the drop down content, this one. So I will just say here drop down content, and I want to specify here display none, and I will say position absolute background color, and here I'm going to specify a color. So I will say a white color here, right? and then I will specify the minimum width, so I will say min width, and here I will say 160 pixel. Then I will specify box shadow and the box shadow property, so I'm going to just specify values 2 pixel, 15 pixel and 0 pixel, and then specify RGB color. So the first value is going to be 0, second 0, third 0, and the alpha is going to be 0.2, right? And then the Z index is going to be 1. Now you can see there is no nested item here, right? Now when we hover on these pages, I want to display these nested items. So to do that, I will first select the drop down content and select the anchor tag, and I'm going to specify here color black. Then padding is going to be 12 pixel and 16 pixel, and the text decoration is going to be none, and the display is block. When we hover on these pages, I want to display nested items, so I'm going to just here drop down content and select the anchor tag, and when we hover on it, I'm going to just specify background color, so I will just say background and just specify hex value here. And then I want to change this display property to block when we hover on these pages, so you can see these nested items when we hover on these pages. So I will just say here drop down, hover and select the drop down content, and when we hover on the pages, I want to display these nested items, so I will say display block here. Save the changes, and here you can see when we hover on these pages, you can see your nested items. Alright, just after that, I'm going to select the header and select the nav item class, and I want to select the last child of this nav item class, so I will say last child, and I want to add padding right 10.5 em. I'm using relative unit here, which is em. You can see me using relative units throughout this website, just like em, rem and vmin. These are the relative unit in CSS. Just after that, I'm going to select the header again and select the nav item class, and I want to specify padding 0.9 em to these nav items, right? So we just added padding to these nav items, right? Now just after that, I'm going to select this navbar brand, so I will just select the header first and then say navbar brand, and I want to specify padding left 8 rem, right? So here you can see we just specified a rem unit. Just after that, I will just say here header nav link, and I want to specify hover effect, so I will just say here hover, and I will just change the color to black when we hover on these links, right? Just after that, I will select this title, so I'm going to just say here header row and select col md5 and say here padding 4.2 vmin. So you can see we specify viewport min unit for this padding, right? I used to specify different unit for different properties because I think your website will be more responsive when you specify different unit for different properties. That's my opinion. Just after that, here I will just select the header, select the row and select col md7, this title section, right? And just specify padding 22 vmin and 1 vmin, and just after that I will add padding bottom, which is 35 vmin, right? Save the changes. Just after that, I will select the header, the row and col md5 and select this image, right? This image, and I will specify width to this image 90%. Save the changes. Just after that, just after this image, now just after that I want to change this font family, so I'm going to select this col md7 and here I will say font family and just call these variable, right? And right here I will select the header, select the container class, and then select call MD7 H6 heading tag, and I want to specify here padding vmin and letter spacing 4 pixel. When I save it, you can see this type of result, right? Just after that I will just select the header, the container, and then call MD7 and just select this H1 heading tag. So I will say here H1 and specify font size 8.5, viewport mean, and then here I will say font width is going to be bold, and then the last property is going to be padding, which is 0.1 em and 0 em, right? Save the changes and you can see this type of result. I want to decrease the size of this font, so I will say 8 here, right? Now just after that, here I will select the paragraph, this one. So I will select first the header, then the container, and then the call MD7 class, and then select the paragraph. Just after that I will specify padding 1 vmin and 5 vmin, right? Save the changes. Now I will just style this button, so I'm going to just select the header, the container, and the call MD7 class, and just select this button. So I will say here button, right? And then specify border radius 30 pixel and font width is going to be bold, right? So your button look like this. Now I want to change this text color, so I'm going to just select this column MD7 class, this one, and specify color white, right? So this will change this color, right? So this looks pretty much good. Oops, I think I forgot to specify here an icon, this one. So I will just specify this icon in HTML file. So I will open my HTML file here. Just here in the navbar brand, right here, just before these books, I'm going to add an icon. So I will add here I tag and specify a class FA book reader, and then I will increase the size of this icon using FA, and I will add margin X 3, right? Save the changes, and here you can see you have this icon here, right? Just back to style.css file, and so now you can see your header section is completed. In this section we will style this image and this panel. So I'm going to create here a comment and just specify here section 1. Now in the first section right here, I'm going to first select the section 1 class and specify padding, and specify padding for top and bottom. So I'm going to say here 20 vmin and say here 0. Save the changes. Now just after that I'm going to select section 1 row and the call MD6 class, and I want to select this gray class and this image, right? This image. So I'm going to specify here opacity for this image. So I'm going to say opacity 0.8 and width is going to be 80%. And I also want to specify border radius to this image. So I will say border radius 0.2 em. Save the changes, and you can see this image here, right? Now let's style this panel. I'm going to say here section 1, select the row and the call MD6 class, and now I want to select the last child of this class. So I'm going to say here last child, right? And in this class I will say position relative because I want to float this panel. So I'm going to say position relative for this class, and then I'm going to select section 1 row and select this call MD6 class and select this panel. So here we specified position relative to the parent of this panel, and then I'm going to specify here position absolute, then I'm going to say top 7 vmin and left is minus 18 vmin, right? Just after that I'm going to specify background white, border radius I'm going to say 3 pixel, and text line I want to align all the text to the left side, so I will say left, and then I will specify some padding, so I will say padding here, and then I will specify top padding 13 vmin, the right padding is going to be 5 vmin, the bottom padding is 20 vmin, and the left padding is 10 vmin, right? Then I'm going to specify box shadow property and specify shadow, so I'm going to say 0 pixel, 25 pixel, 42 pixel, and then I will specify RGBA color, right? So I'm going to say here 0 0 0, and here for the alpha I will say 0.2, right? Save the changes and you can see the style is applied to this panel. Now I want to specify font family, so I will say font family and just call rubric variable here, right? Then I will say z index 1. Save the changes and you can see this type of result. Just after that I'm going to specify some style to this text, so I'm going to first select this section 1, then video and the call MD6 class, then I will select the panel and the h1 heading tag, right, this one, and for this heading tag I will say font width bold, padding 0.4 em and 0 here. Then I'm going to say font size 2 em, right? Save the changes. Just after that I'm going to select this paragraph, so I'm going to first say section 1 row, call MD6 class, then select the panel and then select the paragraph, right? And in this paragraph I'm going to first specify font size 0.9 em and the color, and here I will specify RGBA color, so I will say RGBA 0 0 0, and here I'm going to say 0.5. Save the changes. So this color will specify light gray color to this paragraph. Now just after that, so now the section 1 is completed. Now you can see it looks better than the previous one. Now let's move on to the next section. So I'm going to style this section, so I will open this up and just create a comment and say here section 2. Now in this section I'm going to first select the cover class, so I'm going to say cover and just specify width 100%, then I will say height 55 vmin. Save the changes. So this will add height and width for this cover class, and then I'm going to say background URL, so I'm going to say background URL, and here I want to specify an image, so I'm going to just specify a path for my image, right? That's it. Then I will select my image here, so I'm going to select this image, right? Now I want to specify position for this image, so I'm going to say here background position and say here minus 25 rem and minus 90 rem, right? Then I will say background size 150%, and just after that I want to specify position relative to this cover, so I'm going to say position relative, right? Save the changes. Now just after that I want to specify here overlay color for this image, so I'm going to say here I will select this content class, so I will say first here cover and select this content class, and then I will say background and I want to specify here RGBA color, so I'm going to say RGBA color, right? And here I'm going to specify values 0 0 0 and 0.7. Save the changes. And then I want to specify height and width for this content, so I'm going to say height 100% and width 100%, right? Just after that I'm going to specify padding top for this text. So I'm going to say here 19 vmin. So this will add padding top to this text. Now just after that, I'm going to select this heading. So I'm going to say cover, content, and then select this h1 heading tag, this one, and specify font family Patua. Then the font size is going to be 6 vmin. I want to make this font responsive, that is why we specify vmin here. Just after that, I'm going to say here color white smoke. Save the changes, and then I'm going to select this paragraph. So I'm going to say here cover dot content, and then I want to select this descendant paragraph. So I will say p here, and I will say font family, and I will specify here rubric. Then I will specify font size 2 vmin, and the last specify a color. So I'm going to specify here hex value. So I will say e5 e5 e5, and then I want to create these rectangles. So I'm going to create here. I'm going to first select this number and just select this rect class, and in this class I will first specify position relative. Then I will say z index 1, and then I want to specify background. So I will say background white, width 17 rem, and height is going to be 12 rem. I will specify here padding top 3.5 vmin, and margin is going to be 1 rem. Just after that, I will specify border radius 0.5 em, and box shadow is something like this, 50 pixel and 0 pixel. I want to specify color here, so I will say RGBA, and here I will say 255 0 0 and 0.349. Save the changes, and you can see this type of result here. Right now, just after that, I want to specify these rectangles here. So what I'm going to do is I will select these numbers and specify margin top property minus 15 vmin. So this will bring these rectangles here, right? And now just after that, I will select these headings. So I will select these numbers, this rect class, and h1 heading tag, and specify font size 5 rem, and color is going to be tomato. And then I'm going to select this paragraph. So I'm going to select numbers, then the rect class, and the paragraph. And for this paragraph, I will say font family, and just specify this font family here. Right? So these rectangles look like this. Now let's style this section. So I'm going to first select this h1 heading tag. So I'm going to open this style.css file. So here I'm going to first select this purchase class, then select this h1 heading tag. And now I want to specify here padding top 15 vmin. So this will add padding here, and then I will specify here padding bottom 0.1 em, and then specify font family, and I will specify a lobster here. So this will look like this, right? Now let's style this paragraph. I'm gonna just select this paragraph. So I will say purchase and select this paragraph, and I want to specify style, and then I will specify a color, and I want to specify a variable here. So I will say light black, and then specify font size 3 vmin, and the last I will say padding bottom 10 vmin. Right, now let's style these cards. So I'm gonna just style this card. So I will open this up. So to select this card, I'm gonna first select this purchase class, and then I will select the parent div. So I will say cards and select this card. So I'm gonna say card here, right? And first I will say here width 22 rem, and margin I will specify 3 vmin. Just after that, I'm gonna select the cards and select all the divs. So I will say divs here, and I will remove all the padding and margin, right? And then I'm gonna say cards and select the title, right? This one. And for this title, I'm gonna first specify background. So I will say background here and call the RGB a color here. And here I will specify different values. So I will say 208, 241, 241, and I want to specify alpha value 0.199, right? So this will specify this background color to this title, right? So I will say padding 1.4 rem and 2.5 rem. So you can see this light blue color here. Now just after that, I'm going to specify font size, which is 2 women. And just after that, I will select this card and I want to select this paragraph. So I will say card text and I will specify padding to this text. So I will say 2.5 rem and 3 rem. And just after that, I will specify color to it. So I will say light black color to it. So I will say light black here. Just after that, I'm gonna just select this pricing section right here, this one, and just select this card body and select this pricing section, right? And I will specify background RGB a color, and I will specify here this background color, right? So I'm going to copy this and paste it here. And I also want to specify here the border top right radius 170 pixel, and then I will say border top left radius is going to be 170 pixel. So this will create a circle here. So you're going to see here a circle, right? Now just after that, I will select this price. So I will select this card body and then the pricing, and then select this h1 heading tag. For this h1 heading tag, I will first specify font size 10 women and padding is something 1 em and 0.5 em. So you can see the card is ready. Now let's move on and create this download our app for all platform section. So now let's style this third section. So I'm going to open this style.css file and create here a comment and say section 3, right? So to style this third section, I'm going to first select this class. So I will say section 3 and I want to specify height to it. So I will say height 70 women, and just after that I will specify margin top. So I'm going to say here 15 women. And now I want to specify background gradient to this section. So I'm going to say here background, and now I will specify a variable which has a gradient color. So I'm going to say bg gradient, right? So this will add gradient color here. Now just after that, I will select this h1 heading tag. So I'm going to first select section 3, then I will select the call md12 class, and I want to select this heading tag. So I will say h1 here, right? And then I will say padding here. I want to specify padding to the top. So I will say 2 em, and for the right side I will say 0. For the bottom I'm going to specify 0.5 em, and for the left I will say 0 here, right? Then I will say color here and specify a white smoke color to this heading with font size 6 women. Save the changes, and then I'm going to select this paragraph. So I'm going to select the section 3, call md12 class and the descendant paragraph. And for this paragraph I will first specify padding 0 and 4 em, right? And the padding bottom is something different. So I'm going to say padding bottom 2 em, right? Just after that I will say here color, and I want to call a variable here. So I will say light gray. So I will call this variable, right, light gray variable, and font size is going to be 3 women. So this paragraph look like this. Just after that I'm going to select desktop So I will say section 3 and select this desktop class and specify first background, and I want white background color to it, so I will say white. And then I want to specify inline block here, and then I want to specify display property inline block, so I will say inline block here. Then the border radius is 3 em, and just after that I want to specify padding, so I will say padding 2 vmin and 4.5 vmin, and the last I will say margin 1 em. So this panel look like this, right? Just after that I'm going to select this section 3, then the desktop, and I'm going to select this heading tag, so I will say h3 heading tag here, and I want to specify font size to it, so I will say font size 4 vmin. Along with that I want to change this font size of this paragraph, so I'm going to say here section 3 desktop P, right? To select the paragraph, font size is going to be 2 vmin. So you can see the third section is completed. Now let's move on to the next section. In the fourth section we will style these cards, so I'm gonna just create here a comment and say section 4, right? So to style this section I'm gonna first select this section 4, so I'm gonna say here section 4 class, and I want to select the container first, so I'm gonna say container, and I want to select this h1 heading tag, this one, right? So I will say here h1, and here I will first specify font size 6 vmin and padding top 14 vmin. Just after that I will select section 4, the team class, and for this class I will add padding 10 vmin and 4 vmin. So this property will add some padding to the top and the bottom, right? Then I'm gonna just select these cards, so I'm gonna select these cards and style it. So I will just specify here section 4, and to select this card we have card class, and I want to specify first here width, so I will say width 22 rem, and margin top is going to be 10 vmin, right? Right here I'm gonna select this card text, so I'm gonna say section 4 card and select this card text, and I want to specify padding to it, so I will say padding 0.5 em, right? Just after that I'm gonna select this anchor tag, so I will say here section 4 card, and then I'm gonna select the parent class, so I will say card body, and then I will select this anchor tag, right? I want to specify font size to it, so I will say font size 1.5 em, so I will say 1.5 em and save this. So this will increase the size of this anchor tag. Just after that I'm gonna select this card item, so I will say section 4 carousel item, and I want to specify here padding left 3 rem. We specify this property to center this carousel, right? Now I want to specify border radius to this image and to this image. For that I'm going to create a class here, a new class, so I will say border radius, and I want to specify border radius 340 pixel and width 60%. Now I want to apply this class to these images, right? This and for this image. So I'm going to open HTML file, and in this file I will search for these images. So here you can see these images. Now I want to specify this class to it, right? So I'm going to add this class here, save the changes, and you can see this class is applied to this image. Now I want to add some padding to this image, so I'm going to say here padding 4. So I will do the same for this image as well. So I'm going to open this up, copy these classes and use this for this image as well. Save the changes, and you can see this classes is applied to this image as well, right? Now here I want to create a circle image, so I'm going to add a Bootstrap class here. So I will say rounded circle, and I will specify width 50%, and along with that I will add padding 4. Save the changes, and you can see, oops, I think I will specified wrong spell here. Save the changes, and you can see this circle image here, right? I will do the same for the second carousel item as well. So I will just specify all these classes to this image as well. So I'm gonna copy these classes and specify these classes to this image, right? Now just after that, back to style.css file. That's it. Now you can see the card section is ready. And now the last section we want to style is the footer, this section. Now let's style this footer. So I'm going to open the style.css file, and I'm going to create here a comment and specify footer comment here. So I'm going to first select this footer tag. So I will say here footer, and I want to specify a background color to it. So I'm going to say background, and I will specify RGBA color and say here 0, 0, 0 and 0.815. Now I want to remove this horizontal scroll bar. So to remove that, I'm going to say here overflow X hidden, right? So this will remove this horizontal scroll bar, right? Then I'm going to add here padding, and I want to add here 14 vmin and 18 vmin padding. Just after that, I will select the footer, the paragraph. I want to select this deletion name. So I had specified this name in the span tag. So I will say here span, right? And specify a hex color here. So I'm going to specify here this color. Just after that, I will select the footer again and select this input box. And I want to specify here border none and save it. Now you can see the border is not removed yet. To override the default property, I'm going to use important keyword here, right? So this will remove the border from this input tag. Just after that, I'm going to say footer, and I want to style the placeholder of this input tag. So I'm going to say input and select the placeholder. So I will say placeholder here, and I want to change the color for this placeholder. So I'm going to say color white and specify important keyword here. Now just after that, I will select this div. So I'm going to select here footer input group and select this input group text, right? And I will specify background here, and I want to specify gradient color to this button. So I'm going to say here bg gradient, right? So this will add this gradient color here, and I will just remove this border. So I'm going to say here border none, right? Now let's style this follow section. So I'm going to just move this window here, and here I will first select the footer, then the column, and I will select the I tag, right? And I want to specify color for this icon. So I'm going to say here color. I'm going to specify hex color here. So I'm going to select this hex color for these icons, right? Now just after that, I will say footer, select the column class, and I will add a CSS AdSense sibling selector. So I will say here I and specify plus sign and select the I again. So this CSS selector will select this second, third and fourth icon, right? And leave the first one. So I'm gonna say here padding 0 and 0.5 em, right? And you can see your website is ready, right? Now I want to add some, right? So now I want to add some sticky. Now the time is to add, right? So your website is ready now. Now let's see this website is responsive or not. So I'm going to right click here and say inspect and select this mobile icon and select this tablet view, right? Now let's see this website is completely responsive or not. Then you can see this website is not actually completely responsive for tablet device. So we need to make this website responsive for tablet devices. For that, I'm going to create a new style sheet and change some style. So I'm going to open my editor, and from here I'm going to create a new file here in this CSS folder. I will create a new file and name this file mobile style.css, and I want to link this file to HTML file. So I'm going to just open my HTML, and in the head section right here, just after this style.css, I will link this file. So I'm going to say here CSS, and I will link this mobile style.css file. Right now, just open this file. Now in this file, I'm going to add a media query. So I'm going to specify a style for a specific viewport. I'm going to first add a media query. So I will say add media, and I want to only select the screen. So I will say screen, and I will specify here max width 768 pixel. So I'm going to first select the header and select the navbar brand class, and I want to specify padding left to it. So I will say padding left 1 rem. So I want to align this navbar brand, right? This one. Save the changes. Now you can see this navbar brand is aligned. Now just after that, I want to select this panel, this one. So I'm gonna just say here section 1 row and select call MD6 class. I want to select the panel, and here I will specify a position for this panel, which is initial, right? And the width is going to be initial, and height is also initial. So here we just specified default position, default width, and default height, right? Just after that, I'm going to select the section 2, select the cover, and I want to just specify here background position and change the position of this image. So I'm going to say here minus 25 vmin and minus 10 vmin, minus 10 vmin, right? And then I want to resize these rectangles. So I'm going to say numbers, then I will select the rect class, and here I'm going to say width 10 rem and height 8 rem, right? Just after that, I will change this font. So I'm going to say numbers rect, and I will select the H1 heading tag and say here font size 2 rem, right? Now just after that, I will select this section 3, and here in this section, this one, and just specify height, inherit, then I will specify padding to it. So I will say padding 10 vmin and specify important keyword, right? Just after that, I'm going to select the section 3 again. I want to select a row and the H1 heading tag, right? This one. I want to specify padding to it, so I will say padding 6 vmin and 4 vmin, right? So this will add some padding to this heading. Then I will just select this section 3 again, select the row, and select this call MD6 class. So I'm going to say here call MD6 and just specify text align center, and to override the bootstrap property, I will say here important, right? So this will center these two panels, right? Just after that, I'm gonna just select the section 3 again, select the desktop. I want to select this icon, so I will say I here and just specify font size 8 vmin. Just after that, just select this section 4. Now just after that, I want to style these cards, so I'm going to just say here, I'm going to select first section 4, then I will select theme class, and I want to specify here display property flex, and the flex direction is going to be column, right? And just after that, I want to center this column, so I will say align content center, right? And just after that, I want to add some width to this inner carousel, so I'm going to say here section 4 and say here carousel inner, right? And I want to add a width 24 rem, right? Now let's check this website for medium size of devices. So I'm gonna click on this medium size of mobile device. So you can see here this website is actually responsive for the mobile version as well, right? I want to add some padding here, so I'm gonna just create here a new query. So I will say here media only screen, and I'm gonna say here and now I want to select this width. So I'm gonna say here max width 425 pixel, and right here I will select this class. So I'm gonna say here footer, select the row and select call md2 class, and here I will add some margin. So I will say margin top 8 vmin. So this will add some margin here. Now just after that I want to check this website for the medium size of devices. So I will click on this 375 pixel viewport. So you can see this website is responsive for this viewport as well, right? And if you click on this mobile device, then you can see this website is responsive for mobile device as well. But now I want to add some width for this card, and also I want to add a toggle button here. For that I'm going to open this style sheet, and just after that here I will say media only, and I will say screen and max width 320. So I will select this width 320 pixel, and here I want to specify width for these cards, right? So I'm going to select this card. So I will say section 4 card, and I want to specify width to it 80 rem, right? So these cards look like this. And now I want to center this carousel. So I'm going to say here section 4 and select the carousel inner class, and I'm going to say here margin left minus 14 vmin, right? So this will center this carousel. So now you can see this website is completely responsive for mobile device as well, right? Now I want to just add this toggle button. So I'm going to back to index.html file right here, and from here I want to change this toggle button, this one, right? So I'm going to get rid of this Bootstrap toggle button, and here I want to specify my own toggle button. So I'm going to add I tag and specify class, and just say here fast fa align right, and just specify text color. So I'm going to say text light. Save the changes, right? So now you can see this toggle button here. So when you click on it, you can see your navigation list. So now you can see this website is completed. So now we just need to add two more things in this website. So I'm going to add this sticky navigation menu and this counter animation, right? So now once your website is ready, I'm going to create a sticky navigation menu. So when you scroll down and reach to the certain position right here, you can see this sticky navigation menu, and when you scroll up, this navigation menu is automatically disappear. So I want to create this navigation menu for my website. So I will back to my main.js file, and here I will first create a command, and in this command I will say sticky navigation, right? And now let's create a variable. So I will say let navbar, and I want to store a nav div here. So I'm going to call the jQuery object. So I will say here $, and in the parenthesis of this object I will call a class. So I'm going to specify double quote and say dot navbar, right? So this will store the navbar div in this navbar variable. Just after that, here I will create an event on window. So I'm going to call the jQuery object, and in the parenthesis of this object I will say window, and I want to create a scroll event on this window. So I'm going to say dot here and say scroll, right? And just specify parenthesis. Now in this parenthesis I will specify handler function to handle this event. So I'm going to say here function parenthesis and just start the function using curly braces, right? In this function I'm going to first get the complete height of window and just get the certain position like this. So when you reach to the certain position right here, I want to display this navigation menu. So I'm going to just get that. So I will get the window height first. So I will say console.log and I will first print window dot inner height, right? So when you save it and go to inspect on the console, you can see you have your inner height of your window, right? So this is your inner height. Just after that I want to get this certain position. So when we reach here, so when we reach to section 2 right here, I want to get the position of this scroll bar. I want to get this position. So I'm going to say here console.log and here I will call jQuery object and I want to say here section 2 dot offset and get the top position, right? Save the changes, and when you open your console, so when you scroll down you can see you have this position, right here. So when you reach here, I want this position, so you have this position here. So I'm going to use this position. So I'm going to get rid of this statement and just say here let o top. So I'm going to store this value in this variable and just say here section 2 dot offset. So the offset method allows us to retrieve the current position of an element relative to the document. So when you have the relative position, I'm going to get the property of offset, which is top, right? And I will minus window dot inner height, right? So when you've done that, I will just print this on the console and show you the value. So I will just say here top, right? And here you can see you have this position. So just after that, when you have this position, then I'm going to say if window dot scroll top is greater than o top. So I'm going to call the variable here. Then I will say navbar dot add class. I'm going to add a class to the navbar. So I'm going to specify a class name. So I will say here sticky, right? And just after that, in the else statement, I'm going to remove this class. So I'm going to say navbar remove class, right? And to remove this class, I will say here sticky, right? If the scroll top is greater than o top, then I'm going to add this sticky navigation class, or I will just remove it. I need to create this class. So I'm going to open this style.css file, and right here I'm going to create a command and say here sticky class. And to create a class, I will say dot sticky and specify some properties. And in this class, I'm going to just say position. I will specify position fix. Then I will say top property 0. Specify width. Width is going to be 100%. And background color, I will specify RGBA color. So I'm going to say RGBA and specify a background color here. And just after that, I'm going to specify Z index 9999 transition of 1.5 second ease, right? Save the changes. And now when you open your website, you can see your sticky navigation menu right here, right? So it's working fine. Now you know that how to create this sticky navigation menu. Now let's jump on to the next section where we create this counter animation like this. Let's see how to create this counter animation using JavaScript. To create this animation, I will just open main.js file, and right here I'm going to create a command and just say counter animation, right? To create this counter animation, I'm going to first create here a function and specify a parameter. So I'm going to say here selector, and I want to store this function in the variable, so I'm going to say let n count, right? Just after that, in this function I will call jQuery object, so I'm going to call this dollar symbol, and in the parenthesis I will say selector, right? I will specify this parameter, and now I will call each method of jQuery, so I'm going to call here each, and the parenthesis of each method I will say function, and in the body of this function I will call jQuery object and just say here this. So this keyword is refers to the current object. And now I will call animate method here, so I'm going to call here dot animate, right? And the parenthesis of this method right here I'm going to call an object and create a property, so I will say counter, and to specify a value I will say dollar this, and I want to store the text of the current object, so I'm going to say this dot text. So this will store the current object text in this property. Just after that, here I will specify comma and specify second argument, and in this argument I'm going to specify first a duration, so I'm going to say duration 4000. So here we specify a number determining how long the animation will run. So this 4000 refers to 4 seconds, right? Just specify comma here and specify the next argument, so I'm going to say here easing swing, this string indicating which easing function to use for the transaction. So I'm going to using here string easing function. Alright, just after that specify comma here and create a step function. So I'm going to say here step and specify a function here. And for this function I'm going to specify a parameter. So I will say value and the body of this function. So what is this step function? So this function to be called for each animated property of each animated element. This function provides an opportunity to modify the object to change the value of property before it's set. So in this function, what we are doing, before we specify any value to this property, I'm going to change this value here and count from 0 to this text. So here I will call the jQuery object and call this dot text. So I'm going to call math object here, math.seal. So the math.seal method returns the smallest integer greater than or equal to a given number. So I'm going to just specify here value. I'm going to just specify this parameter in this method, right? Save the changes, and just after that I will create a scroll event. So I'm going to just call the jQuery object and say window here, and for this window I will say scroll and specify event handler here, and I will say function, and in this function I'm going to first get the position of an element. So when you scroll down and reach to this position, I want to get this position. So I'm going to just copy this statement right from here and use it here in this scroll event, right? And just change this section, and I'm going to specify here numbers, and just after that I will say here if a is equal to 0 and window dot scroll top is greater than or equal to, or top greater than or equal to this variable, then I'm gonna increase the value of a and just count this function, right? So I'm gonna say here and count, and in the parenthesis of this function I will specify an argument, right? And here I'm gonna say dot rect and just select h1 heading tag here. So here we just selected this heading tag, right? Now don't forget to create this a variable. So I'm going to say here let a is equal to 0, right? Save the changes, and now when you scroll down, oops, something is going wrong. So I'm going to open the console, and the error is uncatch type error, which is animate function. I think I misspelled the animate here. animate, right? I used to do this type of mistake. So you can see your counter animation is completed, right? So you can see your website is complete. You have your navigation menu, your title, this is your homepage image, the first section, this sticky navigation menu, this counter animation, this pricing section, and you have your team members, your carousel, and this footer, right? So I think I have covered everything in this tutorial. So that's it. If you have any question, you can ask me anytime. If you find anything useful in this tutorial, then don't forget to like this video and share it. Subscribe for more latest programming videos. That is all for now. I will see you in the next tutorial.